Hello, hello. Welcome to the Red Sneaker Podcast. And of course, I'm here, Mama T, Miss Tawanda, wifey to Alejandro. And I just have to have a great big thank you to the APC, which is the Autism Pride Center, for hosting us. They've been hosting us from day one, and I'm just so grateful for this space. But enough about me and this podcast. I am excited to introduce you to this amazing first guest. Oh my gosh! And I was so grateful. God is so good because I took a leap of faith and I said, I'm just going to text her and see what happens. And she texted right back immediately, so grateful for you, and said, absolutely. So we have Ashley Tesoro here, known as Mrs. Universe.
Yes,
2023, 2024. So she just got your win.
Yes,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So with my podcast, or with this podcast, we really want to talk about you. As you heard, the Red Sneaker Podcast, right? So it's about walking in your shoes. So I want to walk in your shoes for this moment that we have with you. So first things first, tell us a little bit about you. Married, 3 kids, 3 beautiful kids.
Thank you.
You know, ages, all that good stuff.
Okay, so yes, I am married. So I have been married for 22 years. I got married when I was only 18.
Okay, girl.
Yeah, so I met my husband 2 days after I turned 18. We got married 8 months later.
What?
Yeah, so we've been married ever since. So people are like, oh my gosh, like you don't look that old to be married that long.
Fabulous.
I'm like, well, okay, I look good, thanks. But I was married really young too.
I love this because there was no Tinder or Hinge or anything like that. It was just pure, I mean, tell us about it, you guys.
My background's in Hollywood, so I was an actress for many years. I'm still involved in the entertainment industry, but not with acting currently. But I was the star of The Bold and the Beautiful, Saved by the Bell. I did 8 different films, a lot of modeling, and so I grew up in Hollywood, and so I met my husband in LA, and I walked into his Bible study. He was a young, early 20s, young up-and-coming minister. He comes from a really amazing, prominent family. They do a lot of charitable endeavors and outreaches, and he wanted to start a Bible study and like his own charity to just do it on his own and really, kind of follow in his dad's footsteps of giving back. His dad's very philanthropic. So, and he was going to church and volunteering. So he started a Bible study. A lot of people came, and because it was in LA, a lot of Hollywood people that were kind of secret Christians were showing up. Wow. And I was on the soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful at the time, and I was invited by a mutual friend, and I walked in, and it was basically love at first sight.
Oh my
And
he had the Bible, he's like, okay, focus.
Yeah, that's actually true. He looked up and he was like, oh my gosh, focus on the Bible.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, and so, which is funny because he does tell that story where he looked up and was like, oh, hey. But then he was refocused. And nice. I was also like, wow, this, he was like a young kind of California surfer kid, loved Jesus, successful, kind, not a club guy, which it was more what I was used to seeing being in Hollywood and being, 18 and being around 20-somethings and they just want to party and stuff. And
absolutely.
So he was really a breath of fresh air, and I was Christian and he was Christian, and we really hit it off. So we got married, and we, started, I went to college, I got a psychology degree, communications degree, started traveling with his ministry, helping him with his nonprofit work and ministry work. I actually received my own Christian ordination, and so I started preaching as well.
And counseling, right? Ministerial
counseling.
So
we do, yes. So we have ministerial counseling training, college degrees, everything, and then we just kind of started getting out there and traveling and doing just that on-the-job training, helping people, praying for them in hospitals, going to other countries, preaching, doing one-on-one ministerial counseling with couples and families and individuals in need. And we're very unique because we were so young, and both had been afforded so much in life, him through who his family is, and me through my Hollywood work, but yet our hearts were about using all that not to make ourselves look cool and glorified, but to, like, how can we give back to from what we've been really blessed with.
Sure.
And so I think we kind of created our own unique ministry in that. We have Life is for Living TV, which is our online web series. So it's a format where we're just sitting and talking and sharing about our lives and
And I think
Bible.
you're like not podcasting, but you were just filming all your journeys, your family vacations.
So what we would do is we'd kind of bring people into our lives through, like you said, showing them what we are about, family values, Christian values, and how to live life, and kind of showing our gifts and talents too, because we have gifting and talents in other areas. So showing that you can use those gifts and talents and have a good life and use it for good.
Right.
And then wrapping that around teachings about the Bible and how we can apply those biblical principles to our everyday lives and really break it down and make it simplified.
Well, I tell people, especially people, maybe non-faith believers, that if Noah was just sitting on a beach, right, and he decided to scribe, let's say not Noah, but Moses was sitting on the beach, and he looked like a cool surfer dude, and he started to write out, all the 10 Commandments. I think we can all follow that.
No,
right?
Absolutely. I think, it's interesting because people don't look at me or my husband and go, oh, Christian pastors or ministers, because we don't look traditional.
Right.
But I think that God raises up people in different avenues of life to serve him, to be a light, and he equips them and gives them the appearance and the gifts and everything for what will draw the audience he has called them to. So I'm not called, I preach in churches, my husband has, but I'm not called to the church. So therefore, I'm called to the marketplace. I'm called to people in entertainment, to secular people, to people that are in business, people that maybe would never darken the door of the church, but they see me and my husband and what we have accomplished, and then they see that we give glory to Christ, and then they go, oh, well, maybe I can still retain and be who I am, and I can serve God too, because sometimes in religion, organized religion, we are taught that we need to conform and change who we are.
And I'm glad you said organized religion.
Yes.
Because I feel like and that's the part where I really want to be able to have the audience see, and just not audience, but people, right? People who are listening to this, understand where you're coming from. And like you said, seeing your life and being like, I want more of that.
Yes.
How do I get that?
Yes.
Right.
And I think that that's important because our ministry isn't for everybody.
Right.
Some people judge, they don't understand, like, oh, you're an actress and a model and a pageant queen, your husband's a martial artist, and my husband.
Which I want to get into that.
Yes.
He's like total,
yes.
ninja warrior.
Yeah, so people are like, how does that fit in then with, being a Christian minister? Well, it's like, well, all that you just said, there's a whole audience there of people that need to know about Jesus, and we're the ones that have been sent to them. So that's how it applies.
Right.
And then the people that want to receive from their traditional church pastors, which are amazing, and that's what they feel comfortable with, that's their audience, then all the power to them. But that's not me, and that's not my husband, and we're not all the same. That's why we're the body of Christ, because you got to have eyes, you got to have ears, you got to have legs and arms, everything to be fully functioning, and we are part of that functioning body, and one part of the body shouldn't be judging the other because we don't serve the same purpose.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
I'm very comfortable doing my bikini modeling shoot and modeling and having that, be part of like my career, and then also telling people about Jesus, because there's a whole lot of other bikini models out there. They're going to be like, wow, I want to serve Jesus too because of her.
So faith is huge in your household, and I see that throughout your post.
Yes.
With your kids,
yes.
Tell me ages and their favorite things they liked.
So 10 is my oldest, Gabriella. So she's.
I can't believe 10 years old.
10. It's so, I know. I don't know how we got to this place of her being 10, because I remember like when she was just this little baby. And then we have Tina is 5, and then our little boy smushed in the middle is 8.
Okay.
So 5, 8, and 10.
Nice.
And they're just amazing. My daughter Gabriella is a singer. Like, she loves singing. She's a dancer. She's just a very strong. She's a girly side, but a very tough side that I admire. She's like a no-nonsense, very straightforward, straight shooter, and I admire that quality. Tina is my complete princess, like just girly girl to the max.
Well, you guys went to Disneyland recently, so I'm sure she was like all about it.
Oh, yeah. And like I've never heard her tell me so many compliments of how she loves me. I'm the best mom in the world. Like, she really appreciated that trip.
Oh.
And then my son is a brainiac, smart. I think he's going to be a preacher. He loves God. He's very wise. Like he says things beyond his years. He's just a really cool kid, and he also plays soccer. So he has an athletic side too, but he's very book smart.
And I noticed that his hair is long like his dad.
Yes.
So it's like a no go. He's like, I'm never gonna cut it. Like as long as dad.
Yes.
Are they like mini me's together?
Yes. So my son does not want to cut his hair. His hair is long like his dad's. They wear it down.
It's beautiful. I saw him with the braids and everything. I was like, okay, I love all the styles.
Yes, so he doesn't want to cut it, and I've asked him a couple times, and I don't want to force him, and he has gorgeous hair.
Absolutely.
And he says he's like Samson, the Bible, and he likes to be like his dad, and that they get their power from their hair. So this is like the thing that, we got our power from our hair, and I love that, and I think their hair is beautiful. So
I do too, and
I'm fine with it.
And I love the camaraderie that him and his dad have.
Totally, they're best friends, and I always say, if a woman can have short hair, a man can have long hair.
Yeah,
like we're living in
absolutely.
2024.
Yeah.
Let's just be who we are, and if you want long hair, short hair,
and you
whatever.
have beautiful kids, and I
Thank
love
you.
that you. I know some people are like, oh, I finally have my boy, but you have the two girls and
do.
the boy, so that's nice.
It is nice.
So, what's one parenting advice? Like, what's one positive parenting advice you would give to parents out there who are raising kids in this day and age?
Okay, so there's two things I would say, and they're kind of on different opposite sides of the spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, I would say, sometimes you have to let things go and be exceedingly patient to preserve the moment. Because if we are micromanaging every little behavior our children, that they do, we're never going to have moments with them, right?
I know.
So we have to sometimes like pick and choose our battles, and we have to look past.
I needed to hear that. I'm almost getting like teary-eyed. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's hard because in the moment you can feel the frustration and like the tension and like, why won't they do what I'm saying? But if we don't give room, we're never gonna look past that little thing going on to just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I say the moment is more important than the correction at that time. And then, okay, now let's flip to the opposite side. Sometimes you gotta like look past the moment to bring the correction.
Right.
And you have to be very wise and kind of like wear the different hats to know when to do it, because sometimes you're like, oh, I want to live in this moment, but it's like, no, this behavior needs to be dealt with.
Right.
And it has to be dealt with because it's not appropriate, and we're going to deal with this now so we can have moments in the future that are positive, peaceful, calm. And so I've had to sometimes be like, okay, kids, we're like, this activity's not happening today because I don't appreciate the behavior, and we're going home. And they're like, and I have to be sad because I feel sad because I have to lose the moment to instill the discipline.
Absolutely.
And then other times I go, you know what? I'm not micromanaging this. We're going to enjoy the moment, and we're going to look past this because it's not that important to ruin a moment. And it's two opposite sides of the spectrum, but again, you have to
give and take.
Yeah.
Give and take. And I absolutely love that advice. I think that words of wisdom. So thank you.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
Parenting is difficult, and I have 2 kids, and now I have 3 kids. So now I have a total of, or an additional 3 kids. So now I have 5 kids, right? And they all come with their different advantages and challenges. So I appreciate those words of wisdom. I'm sure you all out there can appreciate those parenting words of wisdom as well. So,
and what's also hard, sorry to interject,
that's fine,
interject
please.
on you, but what's also very difficult is when you have different children with different personalities. And I've learned that discipline on one of my children does not work for the other child. And they have like their own set of thoughts and feelings and emotions and gifts and all the way they view things. And so I have to really, like my toughest child is Tina, my sweetest blonde little angel is actually my 5-year-old has actually been my toughest case because she's so sweet and so stubborn. And so certain things that she does, my other daughter never did. And I'm like,
you're like, where did this come from? What's happening?
Right. And so
who are you?
Who are you? Why? But it's funny because I kept feeling this feeling like, okay, when she rounds the corner to 5, some things are going to iron out. And it's interesting. She turned 5 recently, and she's all of a sudden like blossoming into this mature, level-headed young lady. And I'm like, yes, we're out of the 0 to 4, because it was like around maybe 18 months that she started to get a little bit more, like from 0 to 18 months, it was like perfect. And then 18 months, she started to get a little spicy. And she's been spicy.
I tell parents, that's about the time where the aliens secretly come and abduct your sweet listening child, and then they replace it with another child that replicates your child, right?
You're like,
but different.
What is happening?
And doesn't listen, saying, I don't want to, power struggles. So absolutely.
That would be another, in closing about that topic, that would be another thing I would say is to breathe and go, this season is not lasting forever. This is temporary. And they'll get through it.
I think many of us need to hear that
Yes.
and remember that for sure, especially in the teenage years.
Yes.
So when we talked about the kiddos, absolutely adorable. I love that they all come with their unique set of characteristics, right? But your husband, I when I was seeing him, he's just like ninja chucking, and I was like, okay, all right. So how many years have he been doing that? And
so he's been involved in martial arts since he was 5 years old, so many years. He's a black belt, so he has a 7th degree black belt.
You hear that, baby? Gotta get on it. Gotta get your black belt.
So I think he earned his first degree black belt at 13. And then through the years moved up in the ranks, and he also does jujitsu. He's done like 25 years of jujitsu or more.
Oh, Janae would absolutely love to talk with him. She just started jujitsu.
Yes, so so he's done many years of jujitsu, and then he's really focused on his belts though, where he's gotten really high ranking in his karate. And he actually formulated his own system called combat karate, which is he has a 7th degree black belt in like a traditional martial arts. But once he earned his 6th degree, he's like, you know what, I need to formulate kind of like my own variation and system. And so he did combat karate, which is a mix of stand-up and ground. And it's really amazing. And he's very gifted. And he's also does martial arts in movies. So he does stunt acting.
Yeah.
So he does acting and stunt acting. And so they will call him up and say, hey, we need you to come in and do a fight scene against like the lead character. You're the bad guy. He's choreographed he's a very good knife expert too. So he's choreographed a lot of knife scenes. And, he's just really good at it and really enjoys it. And it's
so will we see him on the next John Wick? I mean, isn't it John Wick 6 or something? I mean, John Wick has died, so they need a replacement.
Well, he just did a movie with Mel Gibson and 50 Cent.
Oh, okay.
It's a true story called Boneyard, and it's a really incredible story. And he plays a SWAT team member, so he's on the SWAT team that's like busting the criminals. And he actually got a scene in with 50 Cent, which was really cool. I got a photo. There's like an on-screen photo of them, like in the scene, and then so he did that one. So yeah, he has, and then he has another project I think coming up in April and one in June. So he has a few coming up. So he does them sporadically as they come up. His main focus is his ministry, and then his father's business. They do institutional stock brokerage work, so they trade stocks for big companies. But he does, like when they come in and they call him, he'll hop right in there and do a project. And
nice. It's like
pretty cool.
It's for my husband, photography is like his kind of outlet, and hiking is his outlet. And that sounds like for your husband, it's like, martial arts and knifing and things like that. I'm all knifing. He doesn't really like knife people.
No, but he's trained with law enforcement, and he's trained people, and he's trained with UFC fighters.
I just love it.
Yeah, for years he was going to all the different gyms, and he was kind of testing his skills against the UFC fighters in practice training. And he actually did really, really well. Like there was this one guy, and he promised me, he's like, guy code, we don't ever speak of names. So if you tell this story, never tell the name, just we protect each other. But there was a guy who was a professional fighter, really well-known fighter, and he did some sparring with my husband, and he was going really hard on my husband. And if you go tough on my husband, it pushes his instinct button. And so he did this like unexpected spinning back kick, landed the guy right in the stomach and dropped him. And the guy looked at him and the guy was quite a bit bigger, because my husband's not a big guy. He's just like muscular, and he's really tough. But this guy was actually towering over him. He was like a heavyweight.
I'm gonna play the guess who game. Like, did he have long hair or hair?
And he literally
dropped
him, and I sat there, and even I know my husband's a stud, but I was even shocked. I was like, and the guy was like,
oh, you were there?
I was there. And the guy was like, oh, and then I was thinking, oh crap, is he gonna get up and get really angry? But he showed mad respect to my husband, and he calls him Pastor. He's like, Pastor, I needed that. Like, that was some good correction for me. Thank you. Like, because the guy was being a little bit hot, shoddy, aggressive, and my husband was like, I don't play that. I don't want to get hurt. I'm just, sparring. As he dropped him.
Nice.
And then it was funny because like my husband ended up
like it.
and then my husband ended up praying for him, and the guy like accepted Jesus and stuff.
What?
So he's like, yeah, I think I knocked the devil out of him, and then he was ready to like accept Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sign language it or something. I got to know who this person is. That's amazing.
So it was really cool. And then the
That's
guy has
crazy.
been like, since this happened, I think 10 years ago, a while back, but since then, the man like talks about God all the time and just,
Awesome.
I don't know what happened, but something happened in that moment. And I was like, you know what? That's so like predictable of what my husband's ministry is all about. Like spar with the guy, knock him to the ground, and then be like, hey, you want to know Jesus?
Yeah. Hey, as you're trying to gasp for air, what was that one meme? Don't you want to know Jesus? Remember the duck runs away and like, don't you want to know the Lord?
And then there was another fighter, who's also will remain nameless, but he owned his own gym, and he was like also very mega famous in UFC. He was a UFC fighter. Everybody loved him, and he was known as like this tough, bad dude, right? And we went and preached at this church nearby his martial arts.
Is this in LA?
No, this is in Vegas. This was
Okay.
in Vegas.
All
So
right.
my husband like started training at his gym and training with him and all of his fighters. And then my husband said to me, "Hey, tell his wife if they want to come. I'm going to be preaching at the church like right next to their gym." And they were, so anyways, I let his wife know, hey, if you want to come by. Well, they showed up, and that man also came to the altar that night and accepted Jesus. But again, if my husband wasn't training with these guys and he wasn't the cool, tough dude that he is, these guys wouldn't give him two looks.
But it circles back around.
To my point. You know, if I wasn't like strutting in gowns and taking care of myself in bathing suits, all these women that look up to me, they wouldn't look at me or care about my message of Jesus. It's the appearance and the success and everything that people care about. And then once they look past that and then they see who I'm giving glory to, then they're like, oh, I want that.
Relatable, right? Yeah. Relatable. So faith, family, I'm still like, on the whole nunchucks and
yeah. No, it's super sexy. I really like it.
Seriously.
It like
John
attracts
Wick.
Yeah, and
John
it really
Wick.
is one of the things that attracts me to him. So I'm like, keep going.
Guess what? You're going to get me in trouble because we're going to drive back. He's like, so what was that about? You want me to do martial arts? Do I got to be a knife expert now?
Well, you already let me put the ring on it, so I'm pretty sure y'all are good.
I'm good. So family, faith, pageantry. So how did you come across that? I mean, I know coming from Hollywood and being in those spaces.
Yes.
Was it just a calling? Did you just wake up and it's like, you know what, I want to be in a pageant? And when did you?
Well, I did my first pageant at 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
So pageants is what started me in Hollywood.
Oh, I
So
see.
if it wasn't for pageants, I would have never been in Hollywood. I actually got discovered through pageants, and then from that point someone said, oh, you need to to my mother, you need to put your daughter into a Hollywood competition in San Diego is where I was living at the time, and she said there's this modeling competition, put your daughter in it, she's been doing really well in pageants and see how she does. I won the whole competition. And there was a modeling and acting agent there and manager that immediately told my mom, like, you need to bring her up to LA. I want to sign her. And it took my mom a year to do it because she was like, I don't know. It's my baby girl.
Right.
Like, she was comfortable with all the San Diego stuff.
Right.
But I don't think she was necessarily comfortable with just shoving me into Hollywood.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
quick. And I kept asking her for a year. I'm like, I was 10 years old at the time. I'm like, because I'd been doing pageants for 4 years. So I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm ready to go into Hollywood. Like, this is springboarding me into it. I was like all professional at 10. When are you going to, contact them? And she's like, okay. So she brought me up there. She's like, we'll see what happens. And I ended up booking like my first commercial audition, which was for LA Gear shoes.
Oh, yes. I loved LA Gear.
Yes.
I had a pair, by the way. So,
yes.
Yeah,
And then I
very
booked
cool.
Levi jeans. And then I booked a movie. And then I started doing all these kids movies for this Full Moon Productions, which was like a really popular straight-to-video company at the time, and they kept booking me and sending me to Europe to film these movies, and I just did really well.
Wow.
And so she let me do it and stay in it. And then when I was 14, I booked a series, so I was like working every week. So my parents actually had to relocate from San Diego to LA because to keep the family together.
Right, yeah.
And then my mom would go to the set with me every day, and then then from there I booked Bold and the Beautiful, and
And what age were you with Bold and
So
and
I
Beautiful?
worked in from like pageants, Hollywood, age 6 to like age 20.
Okay.
And then
Wow,
it was, yeah, so it was
wow.
solid. And then I met, that's around the time, a couple years prior to that, I met my husband. So it took me like a 2-year transition period. And then I decided, you know what, I want to go to college, I want to do ministry, and I want to have kids. And so then we hosted our Life is for Living for all those years. So I still felt like I was doing camera stuff. I'm a singer. I recorded some country gospel music, some pop music. So I was recording music and singing. And then
Multi-talented. I love it.
yeah, so thank you. So then I ended
it.
up getting rediscovered for pageants 4 years ago at an event that I was a judge. So this,
What?
yeah, so these girls that I know that are really big in pageants, they won all these pageants, very sweet girls, and they're like 20s in their 20s, and they're like, oh, you're so, they worked at my daughter's preschool. And they're like, oh,
Wow.
you need to come in and be a judge. Like, you've been doing all this Hollywood stuff. You'd be the perfect pageant judge. So I judged their pageant. And then it was there that I met the director of the Mrs. Nevada America organization. And
Jackie, yes.
recruited me. And I won my first time out the gate, which was awesome. And then I was crowned 2 other times for 2 other Nevada titles in other systems. And then I went on stage and competed for America, International, and then Universe was my final stop. I was like, I'm going to go for one more national pageant, see if I win it. And it was the one.
And here you go.
But it was a journey, and pageants are interesting because you meet some women that are like you, that are very giving and loving and kind of exchange energy and opportunity, hey, come on my podcast, and supportive. And then you meet some women that you're like, oh, I feel like I'm back in high school. So it's very interesting to feel that emotion of the bullying and the judging and the cattiness and the cliques in pageants when we're grown women in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, and sometimes 50s,
Right.
we've got women in our 50s, and I'm like, wow, this is very interesting.
And
And I experienced some of that.
I really try to make people feel welcomed.
Yes.
I think we're all doing the best we can with the tools we got,
Yes.
right? Whether it's in pageantry, parenting, or any other space. But what has been a highlight in your pageant, in your pageant journey? Something where you're like, oh, I'll never forget this moment at this pageant.
So I had a few moments. So one of my favorite moments was winning actually my first title, adult title, Mrs. Nevada America. I had gone through a really hard journey. It was during COVID. The pageant had been shut down.
Yes, 2020.
The pageant had been postponed, and we finally made it. And we were just really excited just to be on the stage. And there was some women who were extremely supportive of me. And then there were some women in that pageant that were extremely disrespectful and just rude and not supportive. And so for me, when I won, I felt joyful to win for the women that had supported me, that I felt that I was representing us all, because we all had a victory in that moment. We're married women with children, with careers, and we're up there strutting our stuff. It's a win for everybody. And I also felt super vindicated in front of the women that were on the stage that had really mistreated me. And I persevered in spite of that mistreatment.
And they have to smile through it and clap through it.
And actually, one of the women actually straight up didn't smile through it. And in my crowning photo, she's in the back scowling. And it's really interesting to see that.
What? That just saddens me. I mean,
Yes.
there's so many amazing moments. You've actually been instrumental with Janae, because
Thank you.
that's how Janae got into
Yes, I remember.
pageants along
Yes.
with Camille and
Yes.
Kira. But we went to your event where we brought some diapers. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, your family's all about giving back,
Yes.
and you've done so many events where you're able to rally the community and get these necessities to various organizations.
Yes.
Very cool.
Thank you.
And so we were at one of those events.
Yes.
And Janae was like, "I'm going to meet a queen."
Yeah, she was so
Ashley,
cute.
So she was so like, "Ah!" And then Kara was there. With her crown and sash, and I said, I don't know, and I bit the bullet, and I did it, and here we are.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and I did find so much joy in watching your daughter win, And she won in a very tough system.
Yeah.
So she should be so proud. Her first pageant.
We had no idea what system
It
we were
was
in.
incredible.
That's one thing I didn't ask you. I'm like, okay, what are all these systems? Or I was like, I'll just do that.
No, it was amazing. I mean, God took her straight to the top.
Yes.
It was amazing. And
Yeah.
I loved it. And I love being and that's one of the reasons why I do this, to be instrumental in the lives of young women such as your daughter. When I saw that,
Yeah,
so I get
life-changing.
to change women's lives, young girls' lives, young women's lives. It's an incredible honor and blessing. It's a blessing. And that's remembered, like that's recorded, you know, God remembers those things. He remembers, you know, when you do something, you know, when you do something for somebody else, when you impact their life, that's what gives our lives meaning and purpose.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so, you know, I would tie that back in with my other most favorite pageant moment, winning Mrs. Universe, because how could you skip over that one?
Absolutely.
It was the most incredible feeling, and I was so excited. And then to see all the women that I've impacted, the young girls that come up to me, it's unbelievable. These little girls look up to me. Teenage girls look up to me, and I'm like so much older than them.
Well, I can contest. Janae, she was like, oh my gosh.
Right?
You
So
know?
I'm so much older than them, and I'm impacting these teenage girls that are looking up to me, and I love that. It's very incredible, and I feel, again, that it's a very amazing honor and it's a privilege. You know, when you have been given a position in life, there's a lot of beautiful, talented people out there. What makes you the one that gets the crown?
Absolutely.
There's something that God sees that you're supposed to do with it. And unfortunately, we don't all choose to do right by the gifts and the success we've been given, but we're supposed to.
Right. Right.
Because there's people that are chosen to do things in life, right? We're all important. We all have a position, but not all of us make it to the front. And I'm counting it a privilege. And when I stand before God, you better believe I'm going to be hoping that he says, well done.
Right.
Because I've been given a lot.
Right.
And I better do
Yeah.
right by him and by this world and by people that were not given the blessing that could have. There's a lot of women that could be in my shoes. They're talented. They're beautiful. I'm not better than them. But for some reason, I was put in that position, and it's my responsibility to do something with it.
And if I can just add, hard work.
Yes.
Right? Hard
Yes.
work. Like you have the mindset and now you place that hard work behind you.
Yes.
What would be an advice that you want to give to women who are entering into pageants? Young women, women who are married, are in the Mrs. division. What would you say to them?
So I would say that pageants are a personal journey to you. So do not enter the pageant with this expectation that I have to win, I must win, or I've failed. You should enter the pageant to level up and become your best self. So did you become a better person? Did you become more confident? Did you become more refined? Did you learn how to walk the stage better? Did you learn how to communicate better? Did you learn how to give back more effectively and to become more selfless? So pageants are a personal journey. I have leveled up when I look at myself when I started to now, I have leveled up so much because I've made the journey about progress, personal progress.
Yes.
And if you focus on the woman next to you, then you're not really giving yourself the attention that you deserve to level up and to get better. And then also, you know, just from a logistical standpoint, there's a lot of pageants out there. Research them, see what pageant director you connect with. We're very inclusive now, not exclusive. So almost any woman can enter a pageant. It doesn't guarantee every woman is going to win. But pretty much if you meet the criteria, the basic criteria, they're going to let you at least try. And so really research and do your homework and, you know, make sure you like make a checklist. Oh, I need this dress and I have that, make a budget, you know, put down wish list of
Budgets is very important.
Yes.
Because I'm a mom on a budget.
Yes.
So
when
understand.
I entered a pageant, the first thing I would put down is my budget, and then okay, I need hair and makeup, I need a gown, I need an interview outfit, and what is my vision, and get advice from people, and make the journey unique. So you put whether you win or not, the title, you have already won because you're putting yourself out there, and people are, wow, look at what she's doing, and look how she's leveled up, and look how her journey has progressed her forward. And that's really what it's about. And if you win, that's amazing. But I've had pageants where I haven't won. I've had plenty where I haven't won. And then I've had ones that I have won, and it's been great. But every single time, I still walk out with my head held high.
Absolutely.
Because I have done something great, and I've had courage.
You put yourself out there, and like you said, it's like you're competing against yourself.
You really
So
are.
if you always have that, if you can have that mindset, and thank you for that advice for the many women and young girls who are, and people who are thinking of going into pageants, that advice is going to carry you very far, because I tell people, you know, it's a subjective sport.
It is.
Right?
You don't know what the judges are thinking.
Right.
You really don't.
You don't know what they want.
And you don't know what they want. And it really is, there is no real solid criteria. Okay, we have to look a certain way, get on a stage, wear a gown, do a good interview. But you could give the best interview and not win. You could look the most stunning on the stage and not win. Because like you said, it's up to the judges. They don't really have a specific criteria of, oh, check the box A through Z.
Right.
They could choose a wild card, and that's their opinion, and there is nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. So I love that advice. So thank you so much, because I'm thanking you for myself, because my pageant's April 7th. So I'm taking your advice and I'm holding on to it as well.
Do that. No,
Yeah,
you're
so-
beautiful. You're going to do amazing. And you're beautiful, and it's going to be great.
And to me, it's just about making that moment count for me. Like, I'm on stage.
Do it. Make
Right.
it count. Make sure you get plenty of videos, photos, put it out there. This is your moment to model. You are part of a modeling show of some beautiful women, accomplished women, and you are part of the show. So
Okay.
you've already made it.
I have Coach Ashley here.
Hey.
So have you ever thought about coaching girls?
I have, and I could. I guess if I, had some people start calling me up and wanting that and everything, I would do it.
Well,
You never know, because I have had, a lot of experience in the entertainment industry, so I actually could probably start.
Especially with the speaking.
Ashley's coaching and being Mrs. Universe,
Yes.
I've made it to the top tier level, so I've definitely qualified. So you
So
never know. Call
we-
me, DM me, let me know if you want coaching.
She's amazing and sweetest person. So I hope to see that on your resume in the next year, maybe a couple months.
Yeah,
maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I
I
could.
might be calling you myself.
Do it. Do it.
Okay, so we've looked at your pageant history, and I mean, you've gotten the ultimate title. The sash is amazing, by the
Thank
way. There's so
you.
many rhinestones.
Yeah, so this was studded out and beautified by Jillian. She's so amazing. So she's at Show Off Las Vegas Costumes.
Okay.
And she provided my costume to me that when I won Mrs. Universe, we had a costume portion.
And you won the costume.
And I won costume.
I looked you up and I said, "Oh my gosh,
it was
she won the costume."
It was Katy Perry's costume.
I knew it looked familiar.
Yeah, so Katy Perry wore that in American Idol, and I got to wear it on the Universe
That's
stage.
insane!
And I won.
Stop
And
it.
the costume too, which is like a totally separate title.
So this was the costume that this young lady made as well. So she let you borrow it, or how does that
So
work?
yes. So she let me borrow it. I returned it.
Darn it.
Yes, right. But,
Mine doesn't have a costume portion, but yeah.
but she does, a lot of costumes for big time celebrities. She's the showgirl costume woman.
Okay.
And a lot of other types of costumes. And she blinged she was the one that they had blinged the sash. So I thought it's gorgeous.
I haven't seen this type of sash yet, so we're gonna have to step it up because this is gorgeous.
Yeah, so what they do is my sash came generic, and then they let you customize it.
No.
Yes. So I got approval to you have to get approval, and I got approval to customize it this way, and they want you to make it your own, which they're very funny about the crown, so I cannot.
Can't customize that.
Can't
Okay.
can't put on an alternate crown,
Yeah.
tiara, customized.
Like, what's happening?
Yes,
this
but
is
the
gorgeous.
sash. Thank you. But the sash, the system lets you customize it with your own beading as long as you get their approval.
I love this.
So,
you did a great job,
thank
and
you.
I'm telling you, when you crown your successor, she's gonna be taking notes too, because
I
this is
know.
really cool.
I
It's
know,
very
thank
cool.
you.
So where do you keep everything? Where do you keep all your sashes and your crowns?
So I have a room in my home with a lot of photos and memorabilia from my acting days and pageantry. And so my mother has been amazing, and she's gotten me these custom boxes that are see-through. And so for every title, it's a little pillow that you pin your crown into, and then you wrap your sash around, and it's a display box.
Oh,
So I have display
you
boxes
may have
for
to
all of it.
Take a picture and send it to me.
Yes.
I want to see this amazingness.
I will. So I have the display boxes, and that's been really fun. And then I actually, in that same room, have my trophy from the Little Miss California pageant. So when I was 9, I won Little Miss California, and it's a 10-foot trophy.
So you're like, wait, 10 foot. So you were not bigger than you.
Oh, it was gigantic, towering over me. I was a little 9-year-old. My dad did it. So I was this little 9-year-old, and I had this gigantic little Miss Cal. You know, they gave you a crown, a sash, and back in the day, this was back in the day. They gave me this gigantic monstrosity of a trophy that my husband is so sweet. He still lets it sit in that room, and every day he sees it. But it's a reminder to me of my journey and how it started in that state title of when I was a little girl and where I've come. And what an incredible journey to be 9 and win Little Miss California, and then to be my age now, which will remain quiet on.
Fabulous. Her age is fabulous.
It's fabulous. And I mean, you can go on Instagram and see my age. And to be the age I am now, full grown, and Mrs. Universe, it's a very cool journey.
It's an amazing
I'm very
journey.
blessed.
And I have to say, I have enjoyed chatting with you and getting to walk in your shoes. Again, I'm so bummed I didn't wear my reds. I knew I was forgetting something. But getting to walk in your shoes,
it's been red shoes.
I know, right? But these are great. These are great. But your journey has been so enlightening.
Thank you.
So encouraging.
Thank you.
And very interesting. I mean, when you're talking, again, people look at you and think, oh, she has it all together. She's had all these successes. But we go through our ups and downs, right? We have our trials and tribulations.
Yes.
You know, but the bigger picture is you're still standing.
So the thing is I didn't talk about really much of my trials and tribulations in this interview. It was a little bit of a different flow and vibe.
Yeah.
We can get into that. Maybe you can have me back.
Can I have you back?
Yes, have me back. And then what we'll talk about then is my trials and tribulations, because I've gone through many and a lot of different things. And so I am a product of rising above a lot of things that if I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'd love to do part 2 and talk with you about that.
I would love that. Yeah. I would love that. And I'm sure our friends and family and our new friends and family would love that as well. Well, before we go, I want you to leave us with a positive affirmation. What is something that you tell yourself that you need to hear daily, or what is something that you feel like we need to hear daily as a positive affirmation?
So let me think. Okay, well, just going in the flow of what we've been doing and me talking a lot about my faith, I'll end with the scripture. So what brings me peace, you know, some people meditate or they exercise or they do all these things. I really like to think about scripture and kind of what God says about us as humans and his love for us, and how the Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11, I'm sure you know this, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. And when I recount that, because we go through down times, right? We're very discouraged and we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we've all had many of those moments. Sadness, depression, all these things that we all at some point struggle with. I remember that scripture and I think, okay, God is the God of the universe, and he cares about me and he cares about everybody. And if I look to him, I connect in with that energy and I'm taken care of. Sometimes people feel that God isn't there because they're not actually tapping into that energy that we have access to as humans. We can connect with that, with God's energy, right? And when he loves us anyway, but when we tap into it, we become powerful because we tap into his power. And the Bible says we get power through our walk with him, right? And so that's what I do when I go on stage. Oh, God, give me the strength. Lord, give me the strength. And so I'm tapping into that energy. And then I'm remembering that no matter what I go through, that whatever the enemy throws my way, at the end of the day, God is holding it down for me. And that's how I make it through. So
I love that. I love that. And for me, just hearing Ashley's story and her positive affirmation through prayer, through scripture, right? I'm just really in awe with the person that's standing and sitting here today, and I'm really excited to hear about those trials and tribulations on our next podcast. You know, so I just want to thank you so much for your time and energy, because again, it is time, it is energy that you're bringing, and I just so appreciate it. So with that, we're not going to say goodbye to Ashley because she will be back. We're gonna find another time and date for her to come. So we're gonna say see you later.
Yes.
But that's gonna be it for our Red Sneaker podcast. So until then, be well, be blessed, and take care of each other. Thank you so much, and thank you APC again for allowing us to be in your space. Love ya.